Okie dokie. For your first ever character celebration day, Twilight Sparkle has laid out quite the itinerary. At 11, you'll be accepting an award for the most non-magical reformation, which Twilight has already docked points for grammar. At noon, you'll be giving a talk at Cheer Release School about how to overcome childhood disappointments and not become a sociopathic despot. At 1:30, you'll be giving a lecture on the dangers of haphazardly combining spells. Shining Armor wants you to give a talk at 2 to the Royal Guard about the necessity to sometimes sacrifice allies to achieve victory. But first and foremost, Twilight has scheduled some time so that I can give you a pep talk to overcome your inevitable emotional breakdown. That's in a few minutes, so you best run now. Of course, I should warn you that fleeing is futile. You're trying to use magic to accomplish something logical, while I operate under cartoon logic. Cartoon logic! Captain's log, stardate 12345. We have employed cartoon logic to break the bounds of space and time. Cartoon logic! Oh, I landed on my keys. Also, did you know that re-entry becomes less painful after the 57th time? True story. Come on, I wouldn't have been asked to be an escort if Twilight didn't think this was necessary. You've been through a lot in a short time, and it's natural that that's drawn some stark contrasts. I'm not sure if any other character in the show has divided the fanbase more than Starlight. Some can't stand her and others adore her addition, with plenty of gradation. Now, I view her as a very real fact of life. Groups change. Though we've not said goodbye to any member of the main cast, Starlight has been a prominent addition. I don't view her as the 7th member, but she's a strong recurring character. So let's take a look at Starlight's traits in the show and see what she's added and what could be done to make her a more natural fit. First off, let's address a big criticism. Starlight is often presented as so powerful that even our lead characters seem to be rendered ineffective. She's got the magical power to stand alongside alicorns, even able to fly without wings. That arguably puts her on a greater magical standing than Unicorn Twilight. This alone turns some away because introducing a character with so much power can feel like a shortcut towards attention. However, I find it interesting to note that Starlight is not the Chosen One. I say that with some irony because the whole Chosen One trope is worth discussing at a later date, but at the very least it's not based on ability alone. For a long time, Starlight only viewed herself as worthwhile because she had a high magical aptitude, and in doing so she interpreted the world based on abilities. It's the topic where she's most confident and outgoing. If we only judge these characters by their abilities, such as Rainbow Dash's flight or Applejack's strength, Starlight would likely eclipse the entire main cast. Yet Starlight's vulnerability emphasizes that this world isn't so baseline utilitarian. That is, a character's abilities aren't their sole contribution. Starlight is Twilight's pupil not because Twilight is the greater magical wielder. Instead, Twilight is the more flexible personality and perhaps the healthier worldview. Despite her hesitation in the series premiere, Twilight has never shied away from a foreign experience, while Starlight has tried to keep everything under control and safe. It's only when she saw how far that need for control could ruin herself and her surroundings that Starlight accepted she couldn't keep following the same path. That stands in stark contrast to most reformations we've witnessed, which often rely on a magical, mind-altering item that affects the change. I think only Discord and Starlight have come around by their own feelings and choices. Through Starlight's experience, I get a better appreciation of Twilight's flexibility, even though Twilight herself has erred as a teacher.
I shouldn't have tried to pick and choose your friends for you.
Given that Twilight's been enjoying less day-to-day focus since becoming a princess, I'm grateful for how Starlight can serve as a foil to show how far Twilight has come and demonstrate how a person's best self doesn't lie solely with their skill set. Yet Starlight is not a foil only to Twilight, but another character. For a time, I thought Starlight was going to be Sunset Shimmer 2.0. Many of us were thinking this based on the setup. A rival to Twilight, who shares the same naming conventions, is magically gifted, is forgiven for past mistakes, and seeks acceptance while atoning. Given that I had become a fan of Sunset Shimmer as of Rainbow Rocks, I wasn't keen on a character who felt like a copy-paste. After all, trying to create a duplicate makes the individual less unique, and so it was easy to view this as undermining Sunset's own presentation. That opinion began to change, however, when Starlight began to play Spike.
We're not going anywhere until I get the whole story.
That's not too far a tactic from when she was messing with her townfolk's heads.
And no thought to the pain you'd cause your friends. Such selfishness.
While Sunset seems to have abandoned her old negative traits and start over, Starlight struggled to not rely on her old methods.
And I guess my first instinct shouldn't be to magically command ponies to act the way I want them to?
That's also led to a polar shift in reception. As an antagonist, Sunset Shimmer wasn't all that impressive, self-defeating even. Starlight was a much more effective villain, ruthless and deceptive. After they repented, the fan opinion seemed to shift. Sunset won over many of her critics because we saw her struggle to gain acceptance and has been putting forth her best self whenever possible. Starlight's reception has been much more mixed because she's not yet sure of what her best self really means. For a pony who once viewed life in terms of abilities rather than personalities, Starlight's greatest challenge is avoiding the magical quick fix. This means that when she stumbles, it's not just a silly or extreme moment. It tends to affect those around her in very personal ways. And so Starlight continues to try and figure out what she has to offer besides magical muscle. Yet through these processes, Starlight, I've come to view you as your own character. You have your own unique strengths and flaws, and you're facing unique challenges, including leading a set of 3 would-be heroes. Twilight and Sunset have both taken on the role of guides for their respective friends, but I don't think they have ever had to handle this level of conflicting egos.
We have me! And what else could we possibly need?
A draconic quest with magic and half a brain might help.
I don't think either of them could have led this troop while encouraging a timid changeling like Thorax. This was a role for Starlight, who represents a unique personality type. Starlight is an extroverted, knowing, thinking, judging individual, often known as the ENTJ, the Commander personality. The Commander makes up less than 3% of the population, but is known for gathering others behind common goals and driving them forward through efficiency, strategic planning, and sheer force of will. The Commander's pleasure comes from achievement. The more that can be achieved, the greater the satisfaction. This makes them more driven, and their extroverted nature allows them to gather others and move towards a shared goal. That's why Starlight is able to lead an unrulier set of companions than her more introverted counterparts. Yet like every personality type, these strengths can backfire. The drive to achieve can also seem like stubbornness or dominance.
Quiet!
We saw a little of that when Starlight accidentally brainwashed her friends, and her first reaction was to use them rather than find a cure. We've also seen how a commander can be intolerant,
A pony with a different cutie mark in our midst would destroy our entire philosophy.
impatient,
So, how long do we sit quietly?
and maybe even cold and ruthless.
Now it's my turn to take something special from you!
And that's the hardest challenge, understanding emotions. Commanders have a habit of distracting themselves from their own emotions and showing derision or contempt for others' feelings. It's not that they're incapable of feeling empathy, but their focus is so narrowed that it's simply not within their sight. It's probably the hardest challenge for a commander to face, and a concept with which someone as talented as Starlight struggles. Yet she's had some chances to tackle this issue head-on in 4 big episodes. That's not counting the season 6 premiere and finale. In No Second Prances, she learned how to connect with another, but she also learned the pain of being used. Just look at that face when she thinks Trixie was only using her. Harsh. A Heartswarming Tale was the biggest address of her utilitarian viewpoint. She didn't see the point of a holiday and needed to hear the story of another who found the value in personal connections. That creating a perfect, efficient world is ultimately meaningless if there isn't a connection with others. After all, if the goal of building a better world is not to make others happy, what is the point? In The Times They Are a Changeling, she was the very first to visibly soften a Thorax's plight, and perhaps saw a lot of herself. After all, if he could change, then there was hope for her. A little less hope in every little thing she does, because her weakness got the better of her, and rather than reflecting upon her mistake, she seemed more frustrated that the spell didn't work the way she intended. Many fans have voiced their frustration that she had to be told why she was wrong rather than realizing it herself. Yet that same episode allowed her to interact with the Remain 5 and step far outside her comfort zone, learning some flexibility and accepting she doesn't have to do everything perfectly. So while she fell hard, she also rebounded. As a side note, I don't agree with folks that say that Starlight stole Season 6 away from our usual heroines. She had a prominent role, yes, but I look at episodes like Flutterbrudder, Spice Up Your Life, Where the Apple Lies, Top Bolt, and many others and think that our lead character still had good chances to shine. They might have had less quantity than previous seasons, but the quality is still there. Of course, I'm still hoping Starlight can have the chance to work with the Remain 5, because the biggest amount of screen time they've shared has involved either serving as an antagonist or brainwashing them, which is pretty antagonistic. They've done fun things together, but often this is presented in the form of a montage, sometimes a musical, sometimes not. And if there's one thing that can help quell the criticism against you, O Starlight, it's not saving the day or proving yourself more capable than other characters. It's allowing you to mix with the surrounding world. Starlight has made appearances in episodes that didn't necessarily star her, but they've been non-speaking roles that usually displayed her abilities more than her personality. I'm a little sorry she wasn't part of the cookie zombie craze from 28 Pranks Later. We've seen Starlight under pressure as she must confront failure, but one thing we haven't yet seen is how she can learn flexibility when working in a group. She did work with others and let them make the hard sacrifice into where and back again, but what about a situation where she should lean on another for advice? Trixie was a good start, but there are 5 very capable mares that could work with her on a problem and offer unique insight. I think the next phase for your development is to work with the cast rather than succeed them. Because you see, Starlight, I believe you're suffering from a case of 6th Ranger syndrome. That's right, we're going an extra number here. You know how it is when you have a colorful cast of characters that have all had a chance to at least establish a role? No, not that group. I'm talking about another cast of characters. Yes, excellent. So what happens when you want to add a new character to the lineup? The demand is often to generate a lot of interest very quickly and allow them to show off their best. This often means that either the newcomer is going to show off their best by trouncing the lead cast, or tackling threats that the leads could not handle. And yes, for a while the goal is to make that new character look awesome, often at the cost of the lead cast. However, after that period there comes the chance to calm things down. The newcomer doesn't have to be the standout. Now it's more important that the cast act as one and have a chance to show off their collective strength. In doing so, the new member feels like a genuine part of the group and their friendship, though they can still enjoy standout moments. That's where I think you are, Starlight. You've had moments where you bested the leads and were a legitimate threat. You've had moments where you showed you were a worthwhile ally and champion. Now we need to see that you're a respectable partner who can shine with the cast as well as on her own. I think you'll be surprised at how eager folks are to see you show your best along with the main cast. Because at the end of the day, we're drawn to folks who show their best both as they are and alongside others. Of course, that requires you to actually be with others, so I think you've got at least one more teleport spell. Better get a move on. You've got friends waiting to celebrate your special day. I'm Silver-Quill. Thanks for watching.